Welcome everyone. Today we have Rene in our meeting. Rene, this is a community called the Arab Digital Nomad, and we are doing these recordings every month. Basically, educate all the Arab community about digital nomadism. So I'm meeting with people, I'm interviewing them, and trying to understand how they started their journey. And today we have you. Thank you first for accepting this call. Yeah, we would like first for you to start to talk about basically who is Rene and how did you start it?
Sure. So I'm currently in Paris, France right now. That is my base. I have been a nomad for the last 3 years, meaning that I've been traveling most of the time out of the year. I would say that on average, I'm 4 months out of the year here in my hometown, and I spend most of my time on the road. I'm French American, speak both French, English, and I speak a bit of Spanish.
Great, nice to meet you. And can you just walk us through exactly like what are you doing? And so can you tell us just like more on how do you first started to become a nomad?
It's more of a gradual thing, I would say. At the beginning, I was absolutely 0% nomad, meaning that I was going to the office every day. It was actually a big pain, which motivated me to move away from the office more and more. Going to the office was about an hour and a half of commute. Going to see the same people in the same office, it was really a different life than the one I'd chosen. What happened was that COVID hit. I was able to ask for remote work. So you had that period of time where people were working remotely for 6 months at the beginning of COVID, gradually returning to office, but with a hybrid model. I never went back to the hybrid model, basically. So I stayed remote the whole time. What happened is that the second COVID hit, second town that they wanted to lock down, I decided to leave the country before they closed the doors so that I wouldn't be stuck in France. At that point, I didn't even ask permission. I left and I said to my boss, hey, I'm in Amsterdam, so I'm going to be working from here. He said, oh yeah, that's great. No problem. What happened was I didn't ask for permission. I just went for it. I've been doing it ever since. So not asking for permission, just bouncing from place to place, working, staying productive. That's been the life since.
No go back since then, yeah?
No going back for the moment, no going back. I really don't miss that old life that I was doing. Very uncomfortable. I'm meeting a lot more people in my new lifestyle, not seeing the same people every single day. So it's really refreshing for me.
So you took this like risk of just doing it, away, no matter what your boss think. So what's your tips on someone who want to do something similar? Do you think it's doable?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really about, taking that courage and doing it, I would say, without asking for permission. A lot of things that you would be really surprised to know the amount of things that you can actually do without asking for permission and just doing it and seeing what happens after. A lot of people don't care. A lot of people will think, actually, that's great. I'm very happy for you for having taken that leap. So there's that. And also, I think that it's mostly self-limiting. Some people get scared. I'm not capable of living in another country. I'm not capable of learning the language while I'm there, dealing with the stuff that you have to deal with, moving from Airbnb to Airbnb. It's kind of scary, I think, for a lot of people. I would say, like, take your fear away, just try it. You'll see it's not that bad.
Yeah, very cool. I did something similar with a previous company. I was working from home already, but they want me to be in a specific location in Istanbul. And I just booked a ticket and said, I'm going to Thailand. And they were like shocked. And but then they had to, because it's hard to find someone else. Basically, they said, okay, let's continue as long as it doesn't affect the results that you are bringing to the table and you're attending meetings. That's fine. So at the end, like, we worked together for 4 months while I was traveling. So yeah, I think you're right. Like, it depends on you. If you took the decision and you make sure nothing is changing, that works.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I was thinking about this. How can I help someone, you know, go from 0% to 100%? You don't have to go to 100%, but if you wanted to, um, you have that, you know, trying to persuade the person across. Sometimes you, like I said, you don't have to ask for permission. Try it. That's a bit of a violent way. If you cannot do that, try to push the boundary every single time. Another thing is that, so, when you said that you went to Thailand, if you're going for a long time, you need to make sure that you're maintaining those results. So having the results at the beginning is great, but it can wear off and it can show, and that could be a problem as well. So having a schedule to maintain your efforts and your results is also very important.
Cool. Do you have like a special routine that you could share us? Do you use like Notion or a calendar, like, or what's your process to keep things organized and productive?
So for me, actually, I was thinking more about, it depends where you are in the world, first of all, because if your employer, your job is in a time zone that's coming after you, so meaning if I'm in Europe, my employer is in the US, that is an easy one. That is easier to do in my experience. The other way around, having an employer, a job in Europe and working in the US, for example, is going to change your routine a lot. And I've never had an employer in Asia and working in the US. That must be a different story. So every single configuration is a different story. I was thinking more about making sure that you have a routine. And for example, I go to the gym a lot. The reason why I go to the gym is no matter where I am on earth, I have the gym and I don't get lost. My body is not lost. It gets tired every day and I make it tired. So that, for example, is part of my routine. If I don't get that, then I will get jet lagged. Then I will get not tired when I'm supposed to be tired. All that kind of stuff. I would say that, again, going back to that time zone thing, make sure that you choose a time zone in your mind and stick to that. When I was working in Mexico, I kept the European time in my mind. So I was following everybody on social media on that time zone, and I would go to bed at times that I would never go to bed in Europe, like 9 p.m., 10 p.m., allowing me to get up and get onto those calls early in the morning. So these are, I would say, more tips on how to live, especially when you're far away from in terms of time zones from where you're supposed to be.
I personally use like an app for just tracking the time zone, and also you can, in Google Calendar, for example, you can adjust the time zone and add another time zone where you can see, for example, in your calendar how your task is organized, and this like keep me like just aware of things and gives like reminders in case you never know when you forget things,
Yeah.
and if things reminding you, like technology, utilizing technology to do so, very helpful.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, these are really helpful tools. If you look at that, yes, that's very necessary to have the reminders set, everything set perfectly. But essentially, your mind needs to be, if you have a meeting at 4 a.m., no matter what alarm hits you, you might not wake up and miss that a very important meeting. So you have to be mentally in the right space with these tools as well. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I didn't experience that that huge time zones, like let's say Asian and US, but yeah, I get what you mean. So now, as I know, you're a software developer that working remotely with a company, correct? And you're
Yes.
working on a project, on a side project. Can you tell us more about it?
I am working on lifestyle community sort of project with many branches. So it is nomad living, and it first started out with basic need for finding accommodation. It's one of the hardest things that I am living currently as a remote worker, as a nomad, me and my friends as well. And so we were, I was in Portugal, I think, when I was talking to a friend of mine, And he was like, man, you should just get started with something really small and stupid, like a list of Airbnbs that are perfect for remote workers. So I was like, yeah, I can do that. I mean, that's really easy. That's what I do all day. So I put that together and I put up a site. So that's what's currently up right now. It's nomadlife.style. I got that URL and I put it up. And so I have a engine that you can search and find the best Airbnbs for remote working, meaning they have desk, a chair, a monitor, nice lighting, fast Wi-Fi. All of these things are all taken care of. When you reserve in one of these locations, you will be covered. And so that's how it kind of started. And at the moment, it's turning more into a community as well, because we started talking to other remote workers about their problems. And, you know, we said, hey, why don't you come onto a Discord server that we have? We can share accommodation tips and meetups and everything. So that's what's going on at the same time. And from there is branching like other small, cool things that we're doing. So last year we did our first Nomad House, which is a social experiment where we take remote workers from anywhere in the world and live in a common house, a common apartment. We work together, we live together, we do events together. You don't have to be with the others all the time, but it's kind of, you know, the way it is. And for 1 month, we tried to meet other remote workers and create a community in that local, you know, a local community in that city. So we did that in Barcelona last year. It was a hit. We ended up on the last night with like 20 different remote workers in a restaurant, like eating, drinking, going out. That was just a complete hit. So this year we're doing one again. We're going to Rome for 1 month in March, April, and we're recruiting, you know, potential remote workers. So anybody who wants to come and join us in Rome this month, we're going to go and live like locals and work and everything. So yeah, it's the project is very vast, and there's a lot of aspects to it and a lot of actors that are joining. I'm currently working with 3 or 4 other people that are working on different parts of the project. So yes.
This is very cool. I think this is like a big issue for many people who feel lonely while they are, you know, doing some nomading or working alone. And yeah, I think this kind of things that you're doing is very exciting for many remote workers to join in. And I'm sure you have experienced like working alone and traveling. Like, can you tell us more? What's the challenges like people usually face, and maybe overcoming that apart from, you know, joining like collaborative remote spaces also?
Yeah, absolutely. So actually, this is something that I talk about a lot with other people that do this. I was talking about it 2 days ago with a friend. It's not easy you have to be prepared to go out there solo. You know, I would say that nobody is prepared. Nobody knows what it feels like. You can always say, oh yeah, I'm that kind of person that can be solo. Yeah, you have some tolerance. Some people will break after 1 day. Some people will break after 1 week. But I can tell you that nobody is prepared for living solo a month, 2 months, without ever having tried it before. I never jumped into doing 1 month. I always did a week at a time at the beginning. And those were really hard as well. I can currently now work and travel remote for like 2 to 3 week periods without being uncomfortable, I would say. But it's still, I'm a social being, it's still very uncomfortable for me to go further than 3 weeks, 4 weeks by myself. I know there are some that do it. I have friends that have done it. And so what I end up doing all the time is my schedule, my trips are always planned with other people. It's, oh, so I have people that I know, a lot of people are, oh, you're here this period of time. Well, you know, maybe we can work something out. And then I jump to another place and I'm with different people all the time. And my calendar kind of makes it so that I'm by myself only about a week or two between periods of times. But also a way to, traveling solo is also a way to meet up people. So you have to have that balance as well. I've met a lot of people while being solo, and turns out that you're not solo after that. So that's also another thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think when you travel solo while working, you basically are encouraged to meet people because you feel bored or not sure where to go. So you tend to, when you meet a foreigner like you tend to speak more than being with someone. And yeah, this is definitely interesting. But what is the difference in your opinion? Like, if you are going alone and meeting people and then getting immersed in the local experience, and the difference with joining a trip like you do with other remote workers.
Well, first of all, when we do our trips, we try to stay local and try to learn the language and everything. But it's true that when you're by yourself, you are more influenced and more pushed into the culture. I would say that I do a lot more local activities when I'm by myself. I would say a lot more museums, a lot more walking and looking around the city. Things that you can only do by yourself. Because when you were with a group of people, you're always going to take a taxi because it's like all of a sudden it becomes cheaper because we're four. The taxi is cheaper. We're going to taxi around the whole city all the time, for example. When you're solo, it's like, oh, well, I might just walk it. You have a different mentality, a solo mentality and a group mentality. Those are two different things. I would say, yeah, try to visit the same place with people and without people. You'll see different things about the city. I'm not saying that you have to travel solo to understand a city, but you will see different things when you're by yourself. That's for sure.
Yeah, I agree with you definitely. Like, I think you are more keen to see different things when you are alone, but at the same time, it gives you more courage when you are with someone, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
To maybe go on another adventure, or go out in the middle of the night, or. So there's many things actually. Let's go back to your career and maybe tell us more on, like, many people, I noticed that they have this problem of not being able, to either transition from normal office job to working remotely. So do you have any like recommendation tips? Like, let's say, how did you land your first job as a remote employee?
When I get called for positions with my skill set, of course, when you're looking for a job, you apply. I make sure that remote is on the table. I make sure that the employer is open for that, because there's no point in even trying if they're not going to be open to it, So I've had multiple clients where it would fit perfectly, but but you have to be in the office 2 days a week. Oh, is that negotiable? What is your tolerance on not coming at all? And they're like, well, that won't work. I'm like, okay, I guess that won't work. That's the end of the call. So you need to, well, if you want to live this lifestyle, you need to be, that's like the number one thing that you should do when you're getting on interviews and calls, making sure that is a important part, no tolerance on going to the office, I would say. No tolerance. You can come in once every month or 2 months if the client needs, but yeah, I would say that would be my biggest tip. So I'm a developer, so in terms of looking for remote jobs, I think it's a bit easier for me and all of the digital jobs that are out there. But if you are in a job that you cannot do remote work, try to transition to, there must be part of your job that you do on a computer at home. If people have that hybrid, have to go to the office for some, make sure that you transition into that part, do more of that digital part of your job. When you're asked, hey, what do you want to do? What kind of activities you want to do? If your boss asks you where do you want to transition to? Well, if you want to go nomad, go towards more of that part of the job that is more remote, I would say.
You find yourself laid off. So what's your process of, finding your new gig or finding your new job that exciting for you?
If I were to get laid off today, first of all, don't panic. It's gonna be okay. I would say that I would go towards jobs that are more in that free-minded kind of freedom, freelance. What do you call it? Freelance is what we call it in France, but I've come to understand that in the US and English countries, they say contractor. Contractor is a more professional way to call yourself. I would get into contracting. I would get into like freelance work where I choose my hours. That's very important. I'm my own boss. So if I say I'm not coming in on Thursday, I'm not coming in because I might have like a flight or I might have another client or something. So I would go more towards that direction. A lot of the workers today are going towards that direction. There's a reason. It's really flexible, really comfortable. It's I think you do a lot of there are a lot of hard hours to be done. There's a lot of work when you're a contractor because you're based on result most of the time. It's a lot more flexible than working for the traditional contract.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's now many speculation about, and it's really happening about the recession, and there's some news saying that there is more like 12,000 employees in Google was laid off out of the sudden. So so there is a lot of things happening around the world. Do you have like things that you are already doing in terms of not being, part of this, but trying to overcome it in a way?
I heard about the layoffs. I actually have contacts that work at Google that are kind of bracing for their lives. No, not exactly. Well, at least the person I was talking, that my friend did that works at Google, is like, if it happens, it happens, and it's for the better. Maybe it really depends on how you are. If you're an entrepreneur at heart, for example, I also think that recession is a good thing. So if you get laid off, a few other people get laid off that are really, intelligent, working at these big companies. A lot of the startups that grew are the big companies of today from the last recession. So Uber, Airbnb, those are the biggest revolutions of the 2008 recession. These are companies that grew during recession, meaning that, okay, there might be 1 or 2 hard years. After that, these two are two of the best employers today to work for. Yes, if we go into recession, maybe there might be a hard year where you might have to do contracting work and bring down your prices and whatnot. But it's also probably a good time to start looking for these niche startups that are growing during recession that are going to be the next huge innovators in the space. I always look at things in a positive way. It makes me sleep better to know that things are going to be better, right?
Yeah.
And so I would say right now what I'm actually looking at and for, because I have my entrepreneurial spirit where I want to do my own projects, but I'm looking out for the next big startups and projects that are going to be, exploding during this recession, while traditional businesses that have been, kind of losing their clients over the years. I'm thinking about right now hotels. I'm thinking about like some traditional travel. I don't know, like maybe airlines. Some of those are gonna die if this recession goes through and hits hard, and they will be replaced with bigger, more exciting, more flexible, more modern solutions. So keep an eye on those startups and projects that are going to be started from the layoffs that we're talking about.
That's very informative and interesting meeting. Would you like to add something before we wrap up?
I want to maybe say where we are and what I believe is the future for the nomad space, because I really take this to heart, this whole community. all the nomads that I've met out there are fantastic, fantastic to talk to. So many cool stories. I truly think that the future of work is remote, and the nomads will be a bigger group in the future. I think that there's a lot to be done in this space. There's a lot of tools that need to be created to help people like me and all of my friends that work remotely around the world. I truly believe that you can build a company around this. First of all, you can create communities. Everything is to build. And no matter what these big companies bully people into thinking, remote work, it was just a transitory thing, back to the office. Yeah, well, out of all of those, I don't know how much it is, 12,000 Google employees, how many of them are going to get a remote job and never come back to the office? It's going to be gradually growing, and they're going to have to, when they have offers with salary, people are going to say, oh, well, I'll take less money and go remote. They're going to have to deal with that. So I just think this is the beginning. It's really exciting times. I really love meeting newer nomads, people that are going to start leaving the office in 2023, 2024. In 2027, the whole landscape will be different for the working community, and I can't wait to see that.
This is great. I heard there's like 14%, around 40% of the companies are offering remote or transitioning to be remote. So there's way more probably to percentage to move forward and increase in the next few years. So definitely it's gonna be growing more and more. And as it get popular, people finding their lifestyle in a way or another where they can balance between their life and work. I think this is the way to go, and so looking forward for this to happen. And thank you very much for joining in. It was lovely. And let's stay in touch.
Yeah, thank you so much, Muhammad.